About adjective clauses. In this video, we are just going to talk about the relative pronouns that we use in adjective clauses. I am taking the class, which is now online. Which is now online is an adjective clause. It's describing the class. And which is the relative pronoun. Adjective clauses are dependent clauses. They're DCs, which act like an adjective. Now, what do adjectives do? They describe nouns. The smart student. Smart is the adjective describing student, the noun. Adjective clauses do the same thing. I'm taking a class, which is now online. Which is now online is my adjective clause describing class, which is a noun. Adjective clauses usually start with these conjunctions. We have who and that for people. We might also use whom or whose. That and which for things. That, which, when, and where for times and places. These conjunctions are called relative pronouns, and they act like pronouns. We know our pronouns. We have subjective pronouns, objective pronouns, and possessive pronouns. Now keep in mind, English sentences follow SVO structure, subject, verb, object structure. So in a sentence like, I told you, I is the subject, you is the object. Okay, so I, you, he, she, it, we, they. These are subjective pronouns. They go in the subjective part of the sentence. Me, you, him, her, it, us, them. These are objective. They go in the objective part of the sentence. You told me. I told you. You told him. You told her. You told it. You told us. You told them. We also have possessive pronouns that we'll use in our adjective clauses. My, your, his, her, its, our, their. My book, your book, his book, her book, its book, our book, their book. The book belongs to me. It's my book. It shows possession. Similarly, relative pronouns can be subjective, objective, and possessive. Subjective pronouns are who, which, and that. They go in the subjective part of the clause. Objective pronouns are whom, which, that, and where. They act like objects. And then we have our possessive relative pronouns. Whose. It shows possession. Okay. Now, I read a research paper. It was interesting. It. Is it the subject or the object of this sentence? It was interesting is the subject of the sentence. How about the next one? I read a research paper. I liked it. Is it the subject or the object of this sentence? It is the object. It's in the object part of the SVO sentence. I liked it. How about the next sentence? I read a research paper. It was informative. The next sentence? I read a research paper. I didn't like it. The next sentence? I read a research paper. I found it boring. The next sentence? I read a research paper. It was long. Think about it. Okay. It was interesting. That's the subject. I liked it. That's the object. It was informative. That's the subject. I didn't like it. That's the object. I found it boring. That's the object. It was long. That's the subject. Okay, so if I removed these pronouns and instead I wanted to use relative pronouns, which ones would I use? All right, well, it is a thing and it's a subject. I will use which or that. I liked it. It is a thing and it's an object. I will use which or that. It was informative. It is a subject. and it's a thing. I will use which. I didn't like it. It is the object and it's a thing. I will use which. I found it boring. It is the object and it's a thing. I will use which. It was long. It is a subject and it's a thing. I will use which. The word which can be used, or that, which or that, can be used in subjects and objects for things. Okay, let's add possessive in here. I have a professor. She is nice. Is that the subject or the object, or the possessive form? Well, that's the subject. She is nice. I have a professor. I like her. Is that the subject or the object or the possessive form? I enjoy her teaching style. Subject, object, or possessive form? It is big. Subject, object, or possessive form? I learned there. There. Subject, object, or possessive form? I finished class then. Then. Subject, object, or possessive form? It was after class. It. Subject, object, or possessive form? Think about it. Okay, she is nice is the subject. I like her is the object. I enjoy her teaching style. That's possessive. The teaching style belongs to her. It is big. That's the subject. I learned there. That's the object. I finished class then. That's the object. It was after class. That's the subject. Okay, so if I want to switch these words into relative pronouns, which relative pronouns will I use? Well, she is subject and it's a person. Who? I like her. Her is the object and it's a person. Whom? I enjoy her teaching style. Her is possessive. The teaching style belongs to her. Whose? It is big. It is the subject and it's a thing. Which or that? I learned there. There is the object and it's a place. Where? I finished class then. Then is the object and it's a time. When? It was after class. It is the subject and it's a thing. Which? Alright, now that you know your relative pronouns, you can check out the next video in this series about using these relative pronouns correctly in your adjective clauses.